Okay, hello everyone and welcome. Oops. Welcome to So Creative Friday live chats. My name is Tendai and I will be your host. I'm one of the hosts over at So Creative for the meetup for 2021. As usual, I'm super psyched for our Friday live chats because we get to pick the minds of some of our speakers and people who participate or engage with So Creative, the So Creative Hub Summit. So just to catch you up, all right. So what we've done this year is we've had 3 digital meetups. So the So Creative team understood that now in response to COVID, we've had to pivot. We can't have an in-person summit like we did last year, but we definitely can meet online, and we need to be able to adapt, especially in the digital space. So that's of course the main overarching theme of So Creative this year. So right now we've had 2 digital meetups, and the end of this month will mark our final meetup. So the theme for the second digital meetup, of course, was adaptive learning, right? So this is being able to put yourself in the space where you acquire the skills, the learning, and the knowledge that you need in order to adapt to your environment, and hopefully that leads to sustainable gains for your business or for your endeavor, especially for those who are in the creative industries and also who have hubs as well. So that's where we're at with So Creative. I'm excited to talk to our guest today. We're going to start with Tapiwa Tsikai. He is from a wonderful organization that's called This Ability Hub, and he's just going to tell us a little bit about this and how they've applied adaptive learning in their sector. So, Tapiwa, please join us on the call. I'm happy to have you, and I hope you're doing well this Friday.
Hello, Tendai.
Hi,
Hello,
Tapiwa. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Really good to see you. Thank you so much for making the time this Friday.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Tapio, before we get into adaptive learning, I need you to tell us a little bit about this Ability Hub and the great work that you guys are doing.
All right. Basically, this Ability Hub is a hub that was formed to empower people with disabilities.
Hmm.
When we look at empowering people with disabilities, we are mainly into enterprise development, and we're also into um, positive awareness raising around disability issues in Zimbabwe. Basically, that's what we do as a hub in a nutshell.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that's awesome work. I know I just took a little bit of time on your website, just to sort of get a sense. And I know that you sort of positioned yourself in the space to, I guess, to cover the ground that maybe other people haven't, and drawing from your own sort of experiences as a team. So I think that's really, really awesome. So now,
Hmm.
you're doing this work, and then you're having your engagements, you're out there, and then COVID hit. Um, how did that impact you and your organization and sort of your ability to do what you need to do?
All right. COVID had a dual impact, both negative and positive.
Mm,
Let me look at it from a positive perspective. Positive in that it gave us a wake up call that, wow, guys, life is short and anything can happen in life. Because anything
absolutely.
can happen in life, you should not wait for everything to be perfect for you to start something. This ability hub actually started during the first lockdown, believe it or
Oh,
not.
okay,
Yes,
okay. All right. So you guys kind of had an idea of what you were getting into a little bit, right?
yes. It was an idea that we want to start a hub, and I attended the first So Creative Summit in 2020, and from there I was able to actually get ideas of how a hub is run, and from
Mhm.
there it's always on my mind that I want to do this. But then, unfortunately, before I could actually start doing anything on the ground, COVID hit. like I was saying. But then at the same time, it gave us that impetus that as much as COVID is there, we can always do something with whatever resources are available to us.
Yeah.
So in that way, COVID helped us to adapt to the situation that was there. And then looking at it from a negative perspective as well, we've had challenges, for example, in terms of meeting up and stuff. We no longer have opportunities to meet up with the rest of the team as often as we would like to because of the restrictions that are there in terms of physical meetings and the like. But yes,
Mm.
we've also learned to adapt and work around that.
I love it. So you're basically speaking to the theme of the summit. I think it's wonderful that you attended last year's summit as well. It was amazing, and that gave you, I guess, the inspiration and also the foundation, the tips for you to be able to come up with your own hub and to speak to the needs that you thought needed to be spoken to. So that's awesome. So of course that leads me to my next question. What does adaptive learning culture to you in your sector? You told me the negatives and the positives of COVID and sort of how that challenged you. So you need an adaptive learning to come in there somewhere. So what does an adaptive learning culture mean to you in your sector?
All right. In my sector, adaptive learning culture means having to learn new ways of doing things. That's one of the impetus that led to us to start the website. On our website, we have an online store, which is actually we're still finalizing it. But the whole idea behind the online store is that have you noticed that the bulk of persons with disabilities in Zimbabwe are not formally employed? They're involved in the informal sector. So we wanted to create an online space for them where they can still market their goods and services without physically having to go anywhere, given the COVID 19 restrictions that are there. And going on in terms of adaptive learning, on our website, we write quite a number of stories around what's happening in the disability sector, people with disabilities who are doing well. This is also our way of online advocacy, so to speak, whereby we're advocating for disability rights through the online space because we don't have any opportunities to have workshops anymore given the current COVID lockdown restrictions that are there. So to me, adaptive learning culture is about um, doing the same things that you are used to doing, but doing it in a different way, adapting
Mhm.
to the current situation that is there, and working with what resources that you have at hand.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Tapiwa. Of course, I have many more questions. But we've got a comment that's come in through the chat, and I just want to read. So, everyone, I'm on two different um things. So if you see my eyes going this way, it's because I'm looking at the comments and the chat, so whatever is coming through. So we've got a
Okay.
comment from she asks, is the disability hub or is disability hub open to all forms of disability? And how do you tailor your program to meet their needs?
All right. Can I correct Rue there? She says disability hub. It's this ability hub. THIS ability. And yes, it is open to all forms of disabilities because, according to us, disability is not about what's lacking or
Mm,
what's deficient on a person. It's about opportunities that are not being afforded to persons with disabilities from the society. And in terms of tailoring our programs, we are an organization that is made up mostly of persons with disabilities. Because we are made up of persons with disabilities, we have a lifelong experience of disability and we serve people with disabilities. So as a result, we always have consistent feedback from our clients who then tell us, no, this is going to work for us, this doesn't work. So because of that, we consistently change the way we do things. Because of that, interpersonal touch that we have with persons with disabilities. I am a person with disability myself, by the way. I've had
Oh,
disability for all my life.
all right. Well, that makes you well versed in this area, obviously. And I think that's what you were speaking to when you talked about your team. And I think the information you put on your website as well. So I think that like I said, I think it was a much needed initiative. And I just have to say I commend you on that part as well, because I think we need all these different voices in the conversation. And I think it's also a learning experience for everyone who can engage with you and your organization and your team, just to understand these concepts around people being, you know, when you say someone is disabled, they're not deficient, maybe they're just differently abled, and it's about creating awareness. So I really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
because the nature of, the fact that we're all doing this during the pandemic, we're all in our remote places, we don't have that chance to meet and engage. I think you did start to speak about the ways in which you've had to sort of work within the COVID context, because you founded this organization, right, during COVID. So
Yes,
in a sense, you've never known what it's like to operate under normal circumstances.
indeed.
Yeah. So, but then how do you prepare your team and yourself when it comes to then trying to tailor these programs to specific individual needs, right? How do you engage with those people? I mean, we've got a lot of issues, connectivity and so forth, and maybe other things that I might not be too aware of as someone who is not, in the same situation. So, how do you manage those things, especially with all these restrictions that we have during this time?
All right. In terms of communication, we use
Mm.
social media as a platform whereby we try to reach as much audience as possible. We're active on most social media platforms that are that most people like to use: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're also on WhatsApp. So we try as much as possible to use those methods to communicate with as many um, people out there as possible, so that we can also reach them in that way. And in terms of internal communication, we also use WhatsApp to communicate as a disability hub team mostly. Yes.
Okay, that's great. So essentially, just using whatever is available to get to the people. And what about the individuals that perhaps you're working with, specific projects or whatever focus you may have had? Okay, so we've
Hello.
got a question from Chipo. Sorry, she's asking, how do you tackle the issue of accessibility when looking at adaptive learning culture?
All right. Looking at
Thank you.
accessibility,
Yeah.
looking at accessibility, um, I hope Chipo has had a chance to go through our website. We recently did some modifications. So what we are now doing as Disability Hub is that we are celebrating organizations and spaces that are making efforts to be becoming more accessible to persons with disabilities. For
Mm.
example, you'll find accessible hotels that are there. You'll find schools that are accessible, that are inclusive on our website as well. So what we are basically trying to do is we're trying to encourage um, as much as possible for society to be accessible. We celebrate once you have made strides to become more accessible. We celebrate you by putting you up on our website, and then we are also there to provide accessibility assessments, whereby you can then say to us, we have a product, service, or whatever it is that we would want for you to verify how accessible it is to persons with disabilities or persons with diverse needs. We come on board, we assess, and then from that assessment, we will be able to give recommendations of what needs to be improved. Once those things are done, we put them up on the website. So in short, I think that's how we try to assist in terms of accessibility, especially in this adaptive learning phase that we are in as well, where we even look at your website and then we can tell you from what we have observed from the website what needs to change for it to become more accessible to those who might have um, impairments that need to have adoptions in terms of websites. For example, those who are visually impaired.
Awesome. Okay. So as you were speaking, in case you notice, I looked to the side. I just also sort of tried to scroll through your FAQs on your disability website and just sort of look at some of the questions that people tend to ask. And you've put a lot of wonderful resources and things that you've pointed out here, like you're saying what is inclusion, universal access, reasonable accommodation, and just also enlightening people about what are the barriers to inclusion. So I think that really obviously speaks to what you're saying. So like I said, I think I really appreciated the fact that you guys started in a difficult time, if I can say, during COVID.
Mhm.
So I think the fact that you came in blazing and you were ready and you knew what you had to do, I think probably puts you in a good mindset and you have that ability to pivot, to adapt and to use the resources around. So I think you probably be a very good study to see how people can just continue with important things in the creative and social entrepreneurial community. So I think that's really, really cool.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Tapiwa. We don't have too much time. Of course, this would be a great, great conversation to go at length and to find out more. But I'm encouraging everyone to sort of get in touch and visit your website on disabilityhub.org.zw. But I think the link is also in the chat as well, so people can find out more. Thank you so much for making the time to chat with us on this Friday. Next time. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Good evening to everyone.
Okay, so creative family. So that was Tapiwa from Disability Hub. We were sort of speaking to him about how they were able to use an adaptive learning culture to respond to the situation we're in now, which is COVID, and having pushed everything online and in the digital space. How do you adapt? What do you need to do? And of course, adaptive learning is the title of our second digital meetup from So Creative. So the fact that they started their organization during the first lockdown sort of speaks to a mentality of nothing was going to stop them to set up. And I love the fact that he got his inspiration and his understanding of how to go about setting up his hub from the first So Creative Hub Summit, which was last year in 2021. Okay, so if you're just joining us, guys, unfortunately, you missed a good bit of the conversation, but we've got another speaker today that we've got lined up for you. Her name is Boitumelo Tumy Motsoatsoe, and she's from South Africa, and she was one of our speakers for the second digital meetup. So this is really, really exciting because she's one of those individuals that I think she just lives and breathes poetry, and the way she speaks and everything about her is just well articulated, and she's passionate about the work that she does. So she was a speaker on the topic during our session called idea. So she really broke down this idea around the pursuit of knowledge, activating the power to adapt for adaptive learning. So it was an amazing talk, and we just want to get Tumy to come in and just sort of talk to us, and we just pick up some of the key points because I think you guys would really love to hear it in case you missed it. Hi, Tumy, are you there? Fingers crossed.
And it's not Tumy, but it's Wadzi coming to join you now, Tendai.
Hopefully she can come through.
Unfortunately,
internet
Tumy,
connectivity is what it is, and yeah, we're all doing the best we can to adapt. So hopefully she can come through. I see something is loading. But let's see
yes,
what we can do.
Tendai, I'm actually on the live with you. Can you hear me?
Hi, Watanai. Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. So we're having a bit of a technical challenge with Tumy joining, and so
Okay.
I've come to just join you for a brief conversation.
Okay.
So my name is Wadzanai Chiuriri, and I'm actually supporting So Creative Communication, and I'm behind the live, behind the scenes. So because I was failing to load Tumy, I just thought I'd join you on here, and we could have a quick chat. Yeah, like put you on the spot and have a conversation with you about your experience at So Creative, because you've been talking to everyone and we don't know what your experience has been. So, are you ready for it, Tendai?
Wadzi, you just caught me off guard, but I'm happy to have a conversation.
Okay, so I know that you participated in So Creative Summit last year, and I know that you've been participating this year. And so a lot has changed over that time. Could you just share your experience of the two different summits, like up to this time?
Okay, so last year, I was only able to come in for I think one of the days, and I think for me, just walking into the space, the first thing, I just felt all of this amazing energy. I felt like I was coming home to family. You know how it is when you meet your people and your tribe, no matter where they're from, you all speak the same language. So for me, meeting up with all these vibrant, intelligent, creative, and passionate people from around Africa, I met people from Mali, Nigeria, Botswana, just people from different facets of life coming in from different angles, but also so passionate about social entrepreneurship and creativity and making that difference and making that impact. So meeting them in person was incredibly inspiring. I didn't want to leave, and I remember we even had a painting session, and everybody was given a piece of cloth to sort of paint on, and then we all put it together, and it turned into the map of Africa. And I also facilitated a session and just really got people to talk about their experiences and their perspectives, especially in the hub sector. So that was exciting. That was the first for me, but it was very exciting. So going from there to this year, I definitely the challenge was on for the So Creative team to sort of see how to come up with something that would speak to people's needs, but on the digital platform. And of course, that pivot was important, and I think it was really, really genius to just say, okay, we're not even gonna try to replicate that. That's what it was. 2020,
Yeah.
2021. This is what we're gonna do. This is
Mhm.
how we're gonna stay connected and keep the conversations going. So for me, that's been exciting, and there have been challenges and glitches and things like that because it's the digital space, and this is
Mhm.
Africa. You know what? I think there's so much love and determination here, and
Mhm.
interesting learning, interesting people, interesting ideas, and definitely interesting solutions. So it's all worth it. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Great. Thank you so much for that really elaborate response. And I love what you said. I mean, I love everything that you said. I wish I could pick on everything, but I would really be telling another story again. But the last part where you said, there've been glitches and we've also had to adapt, like in the moment that that we're in right now, where internet connectivity is a challenge, where Tumy is right now, and we've had to adapt to get into this conversation. So I just want to come back to that bit right there and talk about some of the challenges that we have in our adapting. Yes, we have been talking about the positive adaptation. A lot of people have shared about starting their businesses or starting their hubs during this time. But what are some of the challenges that you've observed that people have faced during this time in trying to adapt that have kept them from moving on? And after that, I'm just going to pick some questions from the comments because I can see people are engaging a lot with our conversation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have spoken about just basically how the whole pandemic kind of threw everything threw them for a curve, right? And when the lockdowns came, especially, that was very hard. I think human beings in general are about connection, and we didn't realize how much we needed each other until COVID came up. And then you realize every single thing you do involves another human being. And so not being able to have those mirrors, human beings, our relationships are like mirrors. Not being able to have those mirrors and those interactions, I think, is very jarring. And especially from, I think, a creative perspective, where you feed off of the community bonds and vibes. I think that was very difficult for a lot of people. But and trying to figure out how to get their creations to the people, whether it's in the form of services, products, or performances, whatever it was. I think that was a big challenge. But what I did notice was essentially a kind of understanding that if I don't adapt, if I don't try to find a way um, to continue to survive, to evolve in this space, then what am I doing? And one of the most interesting things I heard from a speaker, I'm just trying to remember which one. It was like they were saying the 2020 So Creative Hub Summit was almost like this tool chest of what you need to do to go out there and be ready. And then 2021 was the test. Did you learn anything? Were you ready for this thing? Because life really unexpected curveballs. So it was kind of
Absolutely.
quite a few
It
people.
was really like a preparation, and it happened right before the pandemic started, so it really does feel like it was a preparation for us. And I'm just going to skip right to the comments because some interesting comments and questions are coming in. I can see a comment from Stabiso Dube who's saying, looking good, ladies. Hi, Wadzi, my friend from Elevation. So great to see you in your element. Hi, Tendai, my pizza buddy. Poised and pleasure to watch and listen to, as always. I must say, you really are a pleasure to listen to and to watch. Thank you so much, Stabiso, for joining. It's really good to see you here as well. And Fungi Chana says, yes, we painted together. It's really nice to relive the memories, and we connect on digital and just reminisce as we are doing right now. And before I jump onto the questions from Rudo, I'm going to just try and add Tumy because I see her in the waiting room, and I just want to see if we can try and have her on. And if we succeed, then we have a conversation with her. But if we don't, we just continue with putting you on the spotlight, Tendai. So let's just give it a go.
No problem. Let's give it a go. Hi, Tumy. I can see her. Hi, Tumy, you're on mute.
Okay, so I don't think she's been able to connect yet. So we can go ahead and have a couple of more questions. Hopefully we'll get to have Tumy on another live session later because Tumy has a lot to share with us, and I was really looking forward to having that conversation with her. So hopefully we'll get to have her later. But for now, let's just jump on to the questions that are in the chat. I'm quite enjoying hearing about your experience as well, Tendai, because you're always asking people, and today we get to hear about your experience. So Rudo says, what has been the most challenging change from moderating one session to hosting a series of conversations over months? Yeah. So how has that been for you?
I think it's fine. I'm someone who loves conversations, and if you haven't noticed, I'm super chatty. So I love just sort of picking people's brains. I believe that every single person in the world on this planet who's breathing right now has something to contribute. And people who are not here with us anymore, they have something to contribute. And so just having the privilege of having conversations with people from different walks of life, it's just a wonderful platform. And it's a wonderful excuse for me to do that, because it's not always you get to meet all these different interesting people in one go. So for me, it's a privilege. I enjoy it, and it wasn't an issue for me. The more the merrier.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just like scrolling through the questions. I can see how hard your job is, like keeping the conversation going, looking at the questions, and
Thank
I find it to be very remarkable. And so I'm going to ask you a question that's just popped up in the chat as well. Do you think the digital shift is helping or hindering the growth of the creative economy in Zimbabwe and Southern Africa from your experience? I know digital adaptation is, I mean, we can look at it and see the success of it. We're having this conversation, but how has that been on the creative economy? So that question is also coming from Rudo.
thank you, Ro, for that super easy question. Um, I think it's been extremely challenging. I think the way that the digital shift happened, it wasn't at a pace that people could control the way it's happened. There's a difference between being able to sort of say, I'm planning for something and it's happening, versus now you're just sort of thrown in the deep end and then you're kind of, scrambling around. I think it's had a huge impact, and a lot of it has been, I don't know if it's an understatement to say devastating, right, in terms of people's performances, music, especially with the current infrastructure. It's such a challenge to sort of get things in order. I mean, right now we're doing the best we can, of course, but like we've spoken about, and many of our participants have spoken about, the reality of our internet connections, issues like the digital divide, issues like even digital adaptability for different audiences, right? So in Africa, it's not like we have one homogeneous group. We've got different types of people who access information differently. So understanding, those are some of the few challenges. But at the same time, look, how does the saying go? Invention, necessity is the mother of invention. So without something that
Yes.
teaches you in order to survive, you're not going to be forced to come up with different ways. So I think it's been a challenge, but maybe it was one that we needed, because guess what? We have what it takes to be on a global platform as Africans. We have the stories, we have the services, we have the products, we have everything we need to. So maybe this was that push.
Absolutely, and I agree with you there. And it is a super easy question. It was a great push. I love the element that you brought in, that necessity is the mother of all invention. So we it is a good thing, and it's a good thing that we've been pushed to a place where we've come up with so many diverse ideas because of the situation that we're in. And unfortunately, I can see a few people saying hello to Tumy. Unfortunately, Tumy cannot join us. She's also just sent me a message saying that she's failed to connect with us, but hopefully we'll be able to bring her on alive in the future. And so before I go, before I hand over to the host of the Friday live chat that I just bombed. This is not even photo bombing. This is Friday live chat bombing. I just like walked in unexpected. So there's just one groupie that I'm gonna put on. Marshall. Marshall saying great seeing you on the Friday live chat, Wazi. Thank you so much, Marshall. It feels so nice to be on screen and not behind the scenes right now. So it's pretty awesome. Thank you so much to everyone that's joined. I'm gonna hand over to you, Tendai. Tumy is unable to join us. So I'm just giving it back to you. And thank you for the lovely conversation. It was good to meet and learn about you. I think there's one question that I didn't ask you, and maybe you can close off with that. The question is about professional growth. Yeah, professional and personal growth. For you, having been a part of this team, how has this helped you to grow professionally and personally?
I think that's a lovely question. And you know what? Sometimes I don't like when people start a question and answer with "That's a good question, thank you." But in this case, it's true. I think just the fact that I've been able to get to know different speakers' stories, and their particular challenges, and also the solutions they've brought forth. I think that's been the biggest learning for me. I think I believe that conversations can facilitate information. I learn very well from stories and from talking to people, because I'm also quite empathetic. So I pick up lots of things, nonverbal cues. So I learn a lot that way. So having these conversations for me has also helped to expand my thinking in terms of what's possible, when people come up with solutions, and just being exposed to what people are doing all over the continent, and trying to address various types of issues, and growing homegrown solutions. I think that really speaks to the heart of what I believe my purpose is. So for me, the growth has happened in that I take away lessons from these encounters, and hopefully, fine tuning the craft of conversation in the process, so that I can, pull out all these gems from people, and be able to share that with everyone else, because I've learned a lot, and I definitely hope that other people have learned as well. So I would say that's the growth for me, is being exposed to these amazing ideas, to this platform, to working, to seeing how things happen behind the scenes as well. So I think for me, it's all just, this is my bucket of gold, at the end of the rainbow type of thing.
Wow, that's really beautiful. And I think it's a wonderful way to wrap up today. And I'm going to hand over to you now, because I don't know, like you wrap up so beautifully all the time. So I'm going to end. I'm going to remove myself from the chat. I quite enjoyed hosting you for the few minutes that I did, and I hope I get to do it again sometime. So I thank you, and now I'm going to be leaving and let you wrap up. Cheers, everyone.
So thank you everyone for tuning in to that unexpected on the spot, live bomb, as Wazi was saying. It's such a pleasure to see her and to be on camera with her. And it was really, really good to hear from Tapiwa, and just hearing about Disability Hub as well. I think that was really, really awesome. And I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, she could not join us, but that's okay. There's going to be another time. And all of you guys can tune into her talk. It's an amazing talk on our YouTube channel. So tune into So Creative Hub Summit. Go to YouTube, and just get some tea, get some coffee, chill out, sit back and relax, and really enjoy her presentation, because it's really amazing. There's lots of food for thought, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it for you. So thank you everyone who tuned in, and thank you for bearing with us at this time. Remember that our hashtag for So Creative this year is I am so creative, and make sure you follow the hashtag so that you can follow all of our content. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we are obviously here at Facebook as well, so you can get us on all the digital platforms. We're so excited to hear from you, and make sure you tune in to our final digital meet, which will happen on the 30th of July, which is about legacy. Now, how are you going to have that legacy? I don't know, it sounds like a word that you have to say with some bass and some drama. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. It's Friday, guys. Have a good weekend. And remember that we're here at the end of the month. We love hearing from you. So stay tuned, everyone. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Friday. Ooh, there's no music, but I'm dancing. Ooh.